Imagine a company, not a country, not an empire, just a company. Now imagine that company raising its own army, building massive fleets, starting wars, collecting taxes, printing its own money, and ruling over millions of people. It sounds like fiction, but more than 400 years ago, it really happened. This wasn't a kingdom. This wasn't an emperor. This was a business that became one of the most powerful organizations in human history. Its name was the British East India Company. It began with a simple goal: make money, nothing more, nothing less. But greed has a strange way of changing people, and sometimes it changes the entire world. To understand how one company almost conquered half the planet, we have to travel back to the year 1600. Europe was changing. Kings dreamed of power. Empires competed for control of the seas. And one tiny ingredient was worth more than gold: spices, pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves. Today they sit quietly on supermarket shelves. But 400 years ago, people crossed entire oceans for them. Wars were fought over them. Fortunes were made because of them. A single ship returning safely from Asia could make its investors unimaginably wealthy. The rewards were enormous, but so were the risks. Ships disappeared, pirates attacked, storms destroyed entire fleets. Yet the profits were so incredible that investors kept coming back. England wanted a piece of this fortune, but there was one problem. The Portuguese already controlled many of the sea routes. The Dutch were becoming stronger every year. England needed something different, something bigger. So on December 31st, 1600, Queen Elizabeth I signed a royal charter. One signature changed history forever. It created a company that would eventually become richer, more powerful, and more feared than many nations. The British East India Company had officially been born. England had finally entered the race, but entering wasn't enough. To survive, the company had to sail farther than anyone else. Its ships traveled for months across dangerous oceans. Storms could destroy an entire expedition. Disease spread quickly on board, and pirates waited for the perfect moment to attack. Every voyage was a gamble, but the rewards were almost beyond imagination. The destination was thousands of miles away. India, the richest trading region on Earth. Its markets overflowed with silk, cotton, tea, precious stones, and most importantly, spices. In Europe, pepper wasn't just seasoning, it was luxury. Nutmeg could cost more than a worker earned in weeks. Some spices were literally worth their weight in gold. A single successful voyage could return 5, sometimes even 10 times the original investment. People became obsessed. Everyone wanted shares. Everyone wanted profit. Money poured into the company. More investors meant more ships, more soldiers, more influence. The East India Company was no longer just trading. It was growing into something much bigger. Every successful voyage made the company stronger. Every shipment increased its wealth. Every new trading post expanded its reach. Within only a few decades, the company controlled an enormous trading empire. And this was only the beginning. The company had become incredibly wealthy, but wealth alone wasn't enough. Every shipment had to be protected. Pirates attacked valuable cargo. Rival nations wanted control of the same trade routes. The company faced a simple choice: trust others for protection or build its own military. It chose the second option. At first, the army was small, only a few hundred men. Their job was simple: protect warehouses, escort merchant ships, guard valuable cargo. No one imagined what this tiny force would eventually become. Year after year, the army grew larger. Hundreds became thousands. Thousands became tens of thousands. Soon, the company commanded one of the largest private armies the world had ever seen. With soldiers came power. The company no longer needed permission. It negotiated treaties, captured forts, controlled ports, and decided who could trade and who could not. Slowly, the line between company and country began to disappear. It collected taxes, made laws, punished criminals, even minted its own coins. A business was becoming a government. By the middle of the 18th century, the East India Company controlled vast territories. Millions of people lived under its rule. Not under a king, not under a queen, but under a company. The East India Company had crossed a line. It no longer existed simply to trade. It had become a military power. And military powers don't wait for opportunities. They create them. Soon, the company found itself fighting local kingdoms across India, not for survival, but for control. One battle changed everything. In 1757, the Battle of Plassey, it lasted only a few hours, but its consequences would last for centuries. The company's army defeated a much larger force, not only through weapons, but through secret alliances and betrayal. Victory brought more than land. It brought money, an unimaginable amount of money. The company gained control over Bengal, one of the richest regions in the world. Its fertile land, busy ports, and thriving economy now belonged to a corporation. Taxes poured into company coffers, gold flowed across the oceans, ships left India carrying fortunes. Every successful voyage made London wealthier and India poorer. For millions of people, life changed forever. The company decided taxes, controlled trade, owned the courts, and determined who held power. A business was now ruling lives. By now, the East India Company wasn't simply the richest company on earth. It had become something far more dangerous, a corporation with an empire, and the world was only beginning to understand what that truly meant. By the early 1800s, the East India Company had reached its peak. Its influence stretched across the Indian subcontinent. Nearly 200 million people lived in territories controlled by the company. A private business was governing one of the largest populations on earth. Its private army grew to more than 260,000 soldiers. That was nearly twice the size of the British Army itself. Imagine a corporation with an army larger than the nation that created it. Its ships carried tea, silk, cotton, spices, opium, and silver across the globe. Every voyage generated enormous profits. London became richer. Investors became wealthier. The company collected taxes, controlled trade, owned ports, ruled cities, and decided the future of millions of people, all while answering to shareholders, not citizens. No corporation before, or since, has ever held so much direct political and military power. It wasn't simply one of history's richest companies. It became one of history's most powerful institutions. But absolute power rarely lasts forever. Behind the enormous wealth, behind the growing empire, a storm was coming, one that would change everything. But beneath the company's extraordinary success, serious problems were growing. Many officials had become unbelievably wealthy. Some abused their power, others accepted bribes. Corruption spread through every level of the company. Greed had created an empire. Now it was beginning to destroy it. At the same time, heavy taxes pushed millions of people deeper into poverty. Farmers struggled to survive. Merchants lost their businesses. Entire communities suffered while the company continued making enormous profits. The gap between rulers and the people kept growing. Then came disaster. In 1770, a devastating famine struck Bengal. Millions of people died, yet taxes continued to be collected. For many, the company had become a symbol of suffering. News of these events reached Britain. People began asking difficult questions. How could a private company hold so much power? Should any business control millions of lives? Even members of parliament demanded answers. The British government stepped in. New laws limited the company's independence. For the first time, the empire built by merchants was no longer completely free. The company's golden age was coming to an end. But the final blow had not yet arrived. Within a few decades, a rebellion would shake India, destroy the company's rule, and end one of history's most powerful corporations forever. In 1857, The empire built by merchants finally began to collapse. Indian soldiers serving the East India Company turned against their own commanders. The rebellion spread rapidly. Cities erupted into violence. For the first time in centuries, the company was losing control. The fighting lasted for more than a year. Thousands died. Entire cities were devastated. When the rebellion was finally crushed, Britain reached a shocking conclusion. No private company should ever hold this much power again. In 1858, the British government officially dissolved the East India Company. After ruling millions of people, fighting wars, and building an empire, the company simply ceased to exist. Its armies disappeared. Its ships were absorbed into the British Empire. Its territories became direct British rule. One of history's greatest corporations had fallen, but its legacy never disappeared. It reshaped borders, changed economies, influenced global trade, and transformed the lives of hundreds of millions of people. Even today, its impact can still be seen across the world. It began as a business. It became an empire. It ruled millions, started wars, changed history, and then it vanished. The British East India Company proved one timeless lesson. No matter how powerful an empire becomes, nothing lasts forever.